And one. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is an amazing way for you to exit highly appreciated primary homes, businesses, cryptocurrency, save a failed 1031 exchange. So you can create and preserve more wealth, or help your clients, friends, and family do the same. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. I'm also streaming on expert CRE secrets as well for all the commercial real estate brokers out there. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He is originally from India and then came to America. He's going to tell his whole story in the Silicon Valley, and becoming a tech entrepreneur and doing a number of things that's going to teach us how to create and preserve more wealth today. Please welcome to the show with me, Tom Alexander. Tom, how you doing?
Good, great. I'm doing fine.
Excellent.
So I think, as the title says, or as the target audience is basically people who are trying to maximize their wealth. I wanted to tell you a story about how I came into this country with $7 and I made it into $7+ million.
Absolutely. We'll go through all that here in a minute, Tom. But before we get into all of that story, would you just give us a little bit about what you're focusing on right now, right? And then we'll dive into your whole entire story of how you went through everything.
Yeah, right now I'm focusing into spreading the message about how capital gains are pretty high in many of the states. Federal income capital gains tax you need to pay. There's no way of escaping it, but we will tell you how to do that. But the state income tax is also quite high, especially from the place where I left, which is California. And now I moved from California to Nevada.
Very smart. We'll talk about that tax flow strategy there as well. You know, Tom, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I want you to go back maybe to your earlier days, right? You maybe the younger days. You know, what gifts do you think you were given, and how do those help how you help and bless people today?
I truly believe that it is just odds or luck or throw of a dice. Otherwise, I would be sleeping homeless in a train station in India. Fortunately, I was born into a fairly well-off family. It's an agricultural family from a state, the southernmost of India, called Kerala. And on top of it, I was also born into a Christian family. Many of you people may not know that St. Thomas, one of the disciples of Jesus, went to India to spread his words. So I come from a group of people known as Syrian Christians, which are also a minority. It's less than 1% of a 1.3 billion people in India. So that's the kind of a situation where I was born. And luckily, I was able to go to Catholic schools, and I was able to go to good undergraduate colleges, and I graduated with an engineering degree.
Excellent. So a good foundation of faith, and sounds like a family with some means, as well as the ability to get some good education. That's a great introduction to now your story itself, which is so fascinating. You've told me before, Tom, but it'd be great for our audience to hear about it for the first time. So going from $7 to $7 million, becoming a Silicon Valley tech millionaire. So Thomas, tell us, what was the number one secret to becoming a Silicon Valley tech millionaire?
Well, first of all, let me touch on the $7. This is not something for bragging, but what happened is the time I came was early 1970s. At that time, India government had a lot of trouble with foreign exchange. So they will allow us to take only $7 worth of money out of the country. So that's why the $7. It is true. I came here with $7. That's all I had. But luckily for me, I had a brother who moved to United States, and he was a doctor. And so he told me, don't worry about the money. You just go to college and study. and I will lend you the money. So I went to Rutgers and got my master's in aerospace. And then I was hired in IBM as an engineer. Within 6 months, I moved into sales and marketing. And from there, I was sent to, this was the period where there was a lot of stress, race relationship between blacks and the rest. And so I was sent to teach in a predominantly black college. So they were trying to create the awareness to the minorities so I can become a good manager in IBM. So I went to Hampton Institute, or now called Hampton University, and I taught there. I taught mathematics while I was still getting paid by IBM, my regular salary. And from there, the school felt that I did an amazing amount of contribution. However, they never paid me a dime. So they wanted to help me. So they told me, why don't you stay back and we will make you the president. One day you can become president of the school. And I was still very loyal to IBM, and I said I couldn't do that. So they wanted to help me, and they said, why don't you go to Harvard Business School? And I said, me? A poor kid from, I mean, poor in the sense, not financially poor, but I was born into an area in India. We could probably, I could even spell Harvard at the time. So I come here, now you're telling me to go to Harvard Business School. I never thought about it. So he said, don't worry, I'm the president of the university. I'm a graduate of Harvard Medical School, and if I recommend you, they will take you. I said, okay, go ahead. And I went to Harvard Business School and got my MBA. And then came to Silicon Valley. Well, I actually started, once I got my MBA, I decided to do startup companies because I didn't want to work for a big company. So I went and joined a company called Infotron. And very soon after that, I became Senior VP of Sales and Marketing, took the company public. And that tells you the early part of my career.
That is so fascinating. I just love that you were only allowed to have $7 due to the government regulation. They're like, if you're going to leave us, you can only take $7 to America, right? But fortunately, you had a good brother who was willing to lend you some funds, tell you to go to school, and that led to an amazing career, right? With IBM, and then off to Hampton University, and then to Harvard Business School. Very fascinating how all of those, you look back and all of the connections, Tom, they all start to connect to where you're at now. And so let's pick up on the story though. So at that point, you're doing some sales, you're doing some teaching, mathematics, this very diverse background. When did it switch to really start to make the wealth to go from $7 to 7 million? What were the things that you were practicing besides education and working hard? What were some of the secrets that helped you to think big and make some great strides in your wealth?
Well, when I came into the country, you have to remember it's 1970s. The country was very united. They were very proud of capitalism, self-made people. So I had amazingly great mentors who are like third generation, fourth generation Americans who accepted me into their network and helped me to go further. For example, they told me, you don't want to go and do your PhD. I was actually enrolled for PhD in aerospace. And they said, no, you don't want to waste your youth in doing PhD. Why don't you go and get your master's, get out and work? So people were nudging along, and I was always willing to take risk and jump into it. I always looked at the future, the brightness, and I totally believed in the American saying about, if you can make it, you can make it here by hard work and intelligence and smartness. So a lot of my fellow Americans helped me.
That's beautiful. So you had some good mentors, some good peers, some people that were kind of guiding you a little bit, saying, Tom, I think you should go maybe this route. And you believed in the American dream, which was really alive and great, and sounds like it was flourishing in the 70s, right? So
Yes.
so then what happened? What were some of the other moves? You said you made some big investments, take some risks. So what were some of those risks that you took?
Well, the first risk was when I graduated from my Harvard Business School, I was offered investment banking positions or retail banking positions and all that stuff. But I had some friends there. We believed in this is again, we are talking 1975. Silicon Valley was coming in, entrepreneurialism was coming, venture capitalism was coming into the play. So all of us wanted to become an entrepreneur and get millions of dollars from venture capitalists and start our own company. So that was the idea which came into the play. But I also have to remind people that the school I went to, Rutgers, was a state school. So tuition was almost nothing, and my brother lent me the money. And then when I went to Harvard Business School, IBM regarded me as one of the high management potential person, and they picked up all my tuition. So that was key, and that really made me a believer in the American system.
That's amazing. Yeah, they picked that up, and I mean, we call Harvard now. I don't know what it is. It's a lot of money, though, I imagine, and per year. So that's good. So then, tell us about the next kind of transition. So what was one of your biggest breakthroughs for investing?
Yeah, the biggest breakthrough was actually leaving IBM and working for a very small startup in Cherry Hill, New Jersey called Infotron. I went there as a salesman, knowing well that they didn't have a professional sales organization there, because I was trained by IBM's sales schools, IBM's marketing techniques. So I looked at that opportunity and said, oh yeah, I can go there and I can make a mark there. And sure enough, within 6 months, I was made a VP of sales, and it was a startup company. And we did extremely well and took the company public. When the company became public, I was the VP of sales and marketing. And so that was a big breakthrough, because when that company went public, I made my first million. In 1970s, or this is probably more like 80s, $1 million is a lot of money, a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. Did you pay tax on that, Tom?
I knew that. To be honest with you, yes, I did pay. And now I look back and say, oof, none of my friends told me how to get around it. So yes, I did pay a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, right? You got to feed the goose that lays the golden egg, right, Tom? I mean,
Yes.
this goose was helping you to be able to give the opportunity to create wealth. But there are also some creative ways to defer capital gains tax, right? And we'll get into that a little bit more later on. But I want to just continue with your story. So you take a position, you leave the corporate job, you take a risk with a startup company, you add value with being in the sales and the marketing part, and you're able to make your first million. That's fantastic. And then what was the next best secret to investing that or preserving that or keeping that going, even if it's after tax?
Well, the company then anointed me as the next CEO. And I came to the conclusion I was getting caught into a rat race, the corporate world. Every 90 days, I got to answer to a bunch of analysts telling me why our company made sales or didn't make sales, why it didn't make sales. So it no longer was fun. So, and also I had a very young family. I didn't get time to spend with that family. So I decided, and at that time I heard the story about Silicon Valley, how it's coming up and all the stuff. So I cashed my money and went west. And I came to Silicon Valley, and I started my own venture capital firm. And luckily I was able to raise money. We actually raised about $50 million in 2 days, because I had an article about me in Fortune magazine at that time. So I had publicity, timing was perfect.
Excellent. So now you take it's like, you go big leagues, right? You're in Tennessee, although Harvard's big leagues already, but you take it to Silicon Valley and you start a venture capitalist fund. That's exciting. What year was that? I was just watching the story called Jobs. It's the movie about Steve Jobs and all of that going on. So what years were you starting that venture capital fund? And
very soon after Steve Jobs formed the Apple company. So I went to Silicon Valley in about 1980s, early 80s,
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So now you started this venture capitalist fund and you start to angel invest into tech startups. Is that kind of what?
No, it was not angel invest. As a matter of fact, we raised money and I had a partner who started the company, and he also took that company public called Mentor Graphics. And the same investor who funded Mentor Graphics said he made a lot of money in that. And he said, hey, I want to, try it again. So he was our limited partner. So it was a full-fledged venture capital company,
Cool. What were some of your better investments that you guys made or raised for?
Oh, yeah. I had a company called Eon Systems, which was within about 12 months, we sold it to Hewlett Packard with multiple returns. And I had another company called ACT, which went public. And I also took some companies through bankruptcy, So it's same odds, 1 in 10.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, and yes. Some you're gonna win big. And so now let's shift into capital gains tax, right? Because a part of this is being able to sell and exit well and defer cap gains tax. So, Tom, what would you say your biggest frustration's been with selling and deferring capital gains tax, whether on the exit of businesses or real estate, or even with the 1031 exchange?
Well, before that, I haven't finished my story because I stayed in venture capital only for about 3 years because I was actually an entrepreneur at heart. So I wanted to start companies. So then in the next 10 to 15 years, I had a total of 6 companies I started. And one of them I'm extremely proud of is people always think that, okay, I'm a slide rule head. So I probably started some technology companies, but I also started a toy company. And we made accessories for G.I. Joe, an amazing story. And so a lot of these good companies came out of that.
Very cool. That's excellent. That's a great thing to recognize, right? You really focused on, hey, I really love starting companies, right?
Yes.
And I love not the corporate, big company working and having to get to all the corporate politics, but really helping and building something. Is that a fair summary, Tom?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you become an entrepreneur, and especially you are the founder, then you are the number one employee. So naturally, you take the CEO title. So now I don't have to play any politics. But I made sure nobody else in my organization played politics, which made life very enjoyable.
I love that. It's really great. So anything else about your story before we shift, or anything else you want to add to the $7 to $7 million in becoming a Silicon Valley tech millionaire?
Well, an area which I totally neglected was I did not put money anything other than technology. So I totally missed, I don't know where I was when they were teaching that in my schools. I didn't diversify my risk. So I didn't go into real estate. Except I was lucky enough to buy a house in Atherton, California, which many of us know how house appreciates. So recently I sold it to $7.5 million and got out of Silicon Valley.
God, that's a good thing. Like, things to learn along the way. So you didn't diversify as much as you thought. You looking back, you should have bought some more real estate, especially that you're right there in Atherton, right? And
yes.
So to buy a few more pieces of real estate, that's one advice that you would take: buy more real estate.
Yes. Okay. I just got lucky. That was a pure luck. I wasn't planning to be there. I just got lucky. I bought a house in Atherton because my kids were going to some schools close by, and that's where I went.
which is actually where we met, right, Tom? I mean,
Yes.
so you maybe want to tell a little bit of that story about potentially using the deferred sales trust and then the conclusion of that.
Yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, I would say definitely I was lucky to run into Brett because I was trying to sell the house and I knew that my investment was only like $1.5 million. And now I got a big capital gains coming through. So I did a lot of research and I came across DST, Deferred Sales Trust, and Brett was behind that. And what I really admire about Brett is he took all his time in educating me, and I realized that he was not trying to flip a deal within 3 months and make a commission. He was developing a long-term relationship with me. And when I had difficulty in selling my house, he even tried to get me some good real estate agents. He was talking to them and get them to sell my house. So that's how I came across Brett early in the game.
Yeah, and you ended up not using. Appreciate that, Tom. And you ended up not using the deferred sales trust part because you had a loss, right? A carry forward loss from a previous deal.
Yes.
And although your house was selling for $7.5 million and basis was about $1.5 million,
yes,
it's about a $6 million gain. And by the way, for the state of California, above and beyond the 121 exclusion, it's about a 33% tax. So it was substantial. It was millions of dollars of tax. However, because Tom had a loss from a previous year, and we've talked to the CPA, he's able to wash that out in the same year and still basically sell the house and have next to no tax, which means he doesn't need the deferred sales trust. So that is kind of the full story there. And now Tom is working, and we're connected. We're strategically aligned to help people understand what the deferred sales trust is and the different options. But Tom, you want to add anything else to that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I didn't even care about that I had the losses or not. I was so fascinated by DST. I was even getting upset with Brett. Brett was telling me, "Oh, I don't think this is worth for you." And I say, why you don't want to have me as your client? Why you telling me to go away? Because I was fascinated by the program, because I didn't look at that as a solution for my primary sale of my primary residence. I'm telling, hey, I may be doing cryptocurrency. I may be doing something else. This is a great program to have. And I wanted to do that. But then when I brought in my CPA, because Brett suggested, why don't I bring my CPA? And CPA looked at it, and later on a separate call, he called and told me, hey, you're lucky you're with a guy who's telling you the truth, but if he tells that unless you got more than $1 million worth of thing, it's not worth it, because your short-term capital gains loss and long-term capital gains loss, you really don't need that. So I think you should listen to both of us, and that's how I decided not to do DST for my purpose. However, I was fascinated by the program, and I have a lot of my friends who are in Silicon Valley going through this who don't have the losses. So I decided to join company with Brett's company, and I sometimes go with him for seminars, and I still try to get a lot of clients for him, and I continue to do that because I really like this particular program. It's done very well. It's structured well. It has been scrubbed through attorneys, so I can tell you many, many things about it.
I love it, Tom. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if the tax flow and the cash flow doesn't make sense, then it's not a winner for you, but it was a winner for everything else, except you have to carry forward loss to offset it. And by the way, if you're curious, the deferred sales trust works for primary homes, businesses, commercial real estate, stock, public or private, cryptocurrency, commercial real estate. It works for just about any highly appreciated asset, as long as it has $1 million net proceeds and $1 million gain. You can learn more about that by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We love to walk you through to see if the deferred sales trust can be a perfect fit for your exit. but we do recommend you get with this early, because if you close escrow or go too far down the road, it's too late. So you got to make sure you have this plan in place. That being said, Tom, we're running out of time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes, sir. Go
All
ahead.
right. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, Tom, what's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Grab the opportunities.
Perfect.
You know, if you get an opportunity, grab it. Don't wait for it. Don't procrastinate.
Excellent. Question number 2. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Sapien.
How do you spell it?
Sapien.
Okay, perfect. There it is. Question number 3. What are you most curious about right now, Tom?
What am I curious? Let me think about. Oh, it's a lightning round. What am I so curious about right now? Where the economy of our country is going to be? I'm really nervous about it.
100%. So am I. Where inflation's going, where the economy is going, real estate values are going. A lot of moving parts, and it seems to get more complicated by the day. Excellent. Second to last question, Tom. What's your number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
I always go back to my first one. Grab the opportunity. Even in leadership, if you see some employees who are good, grab the opportunity and keep them with you.
Perfect. Last question, Tom. After all your success, taking $7 to $7 million plus, and being a math teacher, being top IBM sales, getting the degrees from Harvard Business School, and all the different things that you've done over your lifetime so far, Tom, what's the number one habit that you practice to stay centered in your values and to stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Well, I believe that I'm extremely lucky to be part of the human race. So I always like to make friends with anybody, regardless of their race or nationality or religion. And that helped me to succeed a lot.
Absolutely love it, Tom. And I can say that's for sure. Tom can get along with anybody and everybody. We spent a time at the Best Ever Conference in Colorado, Commercial Real Estate Conference, and had a chance to connect. And I can just say everyone who's met Tom or connected with Tom, he's so thoughtful and kind and genuine and so smart and a great sense of humor. So, and you're a huge Warriors fan, right? You want to do a shout out to Steph Curry and the Warriors? How are you feeling about this next year?
I stayed awake at 3 a.m. and watched the preseason game. And I watched the second game as well. And the new team, the young players are awesome. We are going to have an amazing season.
Amazing. Yep. It's cool. It's an absolute pleasure to watch, Steph and the team play. And that's very cool. By the way, didn't you leave just a couple doors down from Steph, one of his houses in Atherton, right? Weren't you just a couple doors down?
As a matter of fact, it's on YouTube right now. They're going through his house, and I'm only like 2 blocks from the house. Mm-hmm. On one side, on the other side is Lakeham, lives another block.
It's so cool. Love that. Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure to be able to become friends with you now, and a chance to be able to interview you here officially. And I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts of education and the gifts of faith and a good foundation to help and bless people as you continue on. And for our listeners, besides going to YouTube and searching Thomas Alexander, you're gonna have a YouTube channel and a lot more content coming out. Is that the best place for them to find you? Just going to YouTube and searching Thomas Alexander?
Yeah.
Perfect. Hey, I want to thank everyone also for listening to the episode. And I want to encourage everyone to share, rate, review, subscribe. Share this with someone who could help out, right? To encourage someone, right? Who's looking to build the American dream, to become an entrepreneur, to take risks, take big opportunities and go for them. And of course, as always, we believe that, most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. If we can help you at all to clarify your exit plans, whether that be buying or selling investment real estate, connecting you with wealth advisors that can help you, of course, helping you with the Deferred Sales Trust to exit well, defer cap gains tax. And so you can create and preserve more wealth, or help your clients, friends, and family do the same. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Please rate, review, subscribe. We also thank all of our listeners from Expert CRE Secrets as well. We appreciate you out there.